In the visioning phase, the way the name implies, the concept here is that we should begin with end in mind. So we need to first visualize where we want this process of improving their education to go in terms of this example. So that happens here. Some of the steps that we go through here would be select process for renewal. That's the process we already have, which in this case is improve the education of the school system. Map interactions with the stakeholders. Now in this picture we can see there are several stakeholders. So we have the mayor of the town, the students themselves, then we have a bookseller, their parents, and so on. So there are a whole bunch of stakeholders here who have vested interest in the success of the school system and the process of education. So this year, when the interactions take place, we want to understand what the expectations are for the stakeholders, what would they like to see, long-term vision. That happens here. The next step is to formulate, after the vision has been created, to identify performance improvement targets. Because if we have a vision for going forward, how would we know that we are achieving the vision for this process? The only way we can know is if we have key performance measures or key performance indicators in place. So if we look at this diagram here, we might say that the scorecard, as we see, is A+. The vision for the school is to have A+ scorecard. Every student gets A+. The next step then is to identify the project scope, and that's step number 5, identified here. You can see Anna's hand because she's the sponsor. So essentially, the sponsor of the process has the accountability to ensure the scope is drawn. Why? Because the processes are always connected to other processes. And therefore, the scoping of what's in, what's out in a project is an essential piece of what we do. So here, Anna has drawn this red line around the process, which is provide education process, but she has also decided to include provide books as well. So sometimes a process which is connected to other processes are also included in the scope. However, if you can see here that the input coming into the process are the children. And here you can see there's mom, pop in their house, and here's a stork bringing a baby. And you can see that this process has been put outside the scope. So that process is out. And on the outside, on the output side, there's a process for placing people in the jobs, and that has been also kept outside of the scope. So after this is done, then number step is all about creating the business case for change. So out of the visioning phase, we have business case for change. And change what? Again, we are talking about the 4 things, is change of the business processes, the organizational roles, the systems and technology, and the infrastructure. Because there never is a 5th thing that changes. It's always the 4 things that change, but they must be holistically changed. So therefore, there's a business case for change. And also, there's a change, the last step about here is about the human change. And you can see Anna has a human change strategy in her hand. And the idea there is that when change comes along, human change is a very big consideration. We can put the best process in place, but if people are not aligned to the processes will fail. And therefore, the human change consideration is very important because at the end of the day, people want to know how is this change going to impact me? It's very important for them. And of course, so for the business. And once it has done, then out of the visioning phase, a project plan comes out.